All right. It is the final podcast of season 28, the season 2 of Behind the Table. And I'm here and lucky to be here with Anna Navarro and Cha-Cha. After this, we will see you in September. See you when the summer's through. That's all coming out. All right. For the first...
No, you've got to leave that in.
You got to leave that in.
You always edit out the best parts.
I was off key.
Are you ever on key?
I think I can be. I think with a couple drinks. I'm pretty
Okay.
good at a karaoke bar. For the first time in a while, let's dig right in, we saw former President Obama issue a statement, which is like a political statement, pushing back on President Trump after he said, understandably, after he said Obama committed treason. Do you think that President Obama should speak up more?
It wasn't just that he said Obama committed treason. It's more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He posted an AI video
of him
of
in handcuffs.
Obama
Yes.
getting pushed to the ground and handcuffed in the Oval Office.
Yes.
And then a couple of days later, even after Obama issued that statement, Tulsi Gabbard went out to the press room in the White House. I think she was in a complete cover your ass mode, right? Because let's remember that just a couple of weeks ago, Trump was saying that she was completely wrong on her Iran assessment when she had testified in front of Congress. And so I think it's just such nonsense. But you also don't know who believes the stupid stuff Trump says or posts. And so... Look, I think Barack Obama is somebody who, as most of the men so far who have held this position, have deep respect for the Oval Office and for the office of the presidency, and enough is enough. Yeah, basta. So, so I think Obama made the extraordinary, took the extraordinary step of issuing an official statement denying all the stupidity. And also said in the beginning of that statement, usually I don't comment,
Right.
out of respect for the office. And it's kind of the way they,
But on the other hand, President Biden was here on this show. You sat with him, and he spoke out directly against President Trump. So my question is, do you think that President Obama should be doing more? Should he be going on shows? Should he be giving more addresses?
Yeah, let him come here. If he's going to...
I'm thrilled to have him come here, of course.
Sir, this is a formal invitation. No, listen. Biden came on for the 100th day of
and he waited for that long.
And also, Trump had been mentioning Biden's name derogatory way practically every week since he's been in office. He's still doing it. So I again, the reason that they are doing something abnormal, the former presidents, is because the current president is doing something abnormal and criticizing the former people there.
It's interesting. All right, another interesting topic that we haven't had time for on the live show yet this week. And this is something, because you've talked about the Kennedy Center, and this has meant a lot to you about what's happening there. House Republicans have a new proposal, and it's to rename the Kennedy Center Opera House to the First Lady Melania Trump Opera House. I think I can imagine, but what do you think of this?
Because ruining Jackie Kennedy's Rose Garden wasn't enough. Now we're going to desecrate the Kennedy Center, named after John F. Kennedy as a tribute to him after his assassination. We're going to desecrate that by naming it also after Trump, as if the fact that he has named himself the chairman of the board, gotten rid of all the professionals who were running that. The amount of money they're raising has decreased dramatically. All sorts of artists are canceling their appearances there. I mean, has anybody ever seen Melania Trump show any interest in opera? Because, the Kennedys were known for, during Camelot, the arts culture was such an important part of their brief stay at the White House, right? They were known for that, for history, for preserving arts and culture. I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know. I do know that he seems to have taken an outsized interest in things like this. Not to say the Kennedy Center isn't important, but in the scope of what an American president deals with, taking the time to make himself the chairman, to eliminate what is usually a sort of bipartisan group running the Kennedy Center to do all these things, and now the idea of renaming. What is his interest?
I think. Listen, I think Trump won. There were a lot of slights against him that in Trump 2, he came back to take revenge on. Remember, in Trump 1, a lot of artists refused to be seen anywhere near him. And so he took the decision of not hosting the pre-Kennedy Center honors reception at the White House and not attending them. In Trump 2, not only is he attending them, but he is, not only is he attending the Kennedy Center, but he is chairing it. And he has put, Rick Grinnell, one of his top minions, in charge of running it. And then, gone and banned certain acts, like drag shows from there. And it's just, wreaked havoc. So I think in
so you think this is writing perceived slights? I
think it is. I think it's, listen, he told us during the campaign, it's about retribution. He said, I'm going to be the retribution. And I think he has done that with all sorts of organizations and people that have slighted him, right? Whether it's universities, Columbia University. That is one of the most ridiculous things, that a university would cower that way and pay that kind of settlement, supposedly because of anti-Semitism. Listen, them paying that $200 million, I'm not sure what it does to help anti-Semitism, which is a serious issue. I think what they didn't want to do is go the way of Harvard and have to have billions of dollars in grant money taken from them. The cancellation of student visas for foreign students, which bring in a lot of money for universities. They didn't want to fight it out in court, like Harvard is having the guts to do.
Harvard, and we're going to see where it all lands.
Which is the same thing you're seeing with the law firms, right? The big law firms, a lot of them bent the knee. A lot of the small ones took him to court and are winning their cases. It's the same thing you're seeing, with media. It's the same thing you're seeing over and over again.
Well, let's talk about something that's adjacent to this that you haven't gotten to weigh in on yet. Stephen Colbert's late night show was canceled. It's a big story, not just in media circles, I think in the country right now. What was your impression of that? You've been a guest on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert is an extraordinarily good interviewer.
He is.
He's also just good people. He's incredibly charitable. His own story, I think, has shaped him tremendously.
Really inspiring.
So he lost his father and his two brothers in a plane crash when he was a kid. I think he was 8 or 10 years old. He was very young. And I think it's made him incredibly empathetic.
He's deeply religious. He's
deeply
devout Catholic.
Religious, very involved with the Sacred Heart. So we had that in common. He's really a wonderful human being. And he's funny.
Very funny.
And he's very successful. His ratings were are very good. I think this is, another example of CBS kowtowing to Trump. It's like the, cowardly broadcasting system is what they should be called at this point, because we saw so Trump sued them over 60 Minutes. It was the most frivolous suit. It was because he didn't like the way they edited a Kamala Harris interview. Well, turns out people, networks and shows edit interviews for length purposes all the time, including places like Fox News, right? We've seen example after example of that. So they settled with him. But there were all of these reports that CBS was trying to affect and editorialize what what 60 Minutes covered.
Narrative,
we saw Bill Owens, the producer, leave. And now comes the cancellation of Colbert.
So there's two trains of thought here, two schools of thought. The idea is that late night has changed financially. The show wasn't performing, and they made a natural cancellation. But the timing of it seems suspect, with a merger impending that needs approval by the federal government. And the idea is that this show on CBS was as anti-Trump as any show on television, and that perhaps there was a quid pro quo.
And it also comes, but it doesn't come in a vacuum, right? It's not just a cancellation of Colbert. I guess that's my point to you.
Yes.
It comes, after the $60 million payout. It comes after Bill Owens, the producer of 60 Minutes, left because corporate was telling him what to put on the air and how. It comes in the same week that we just saw a letter released that the head of Skydance was buying CBS, sent to the FCC, to Trump's chair of the Federal Communications Commission, saying, that they're going to get rid of DEI and that they're going to hire somebody to make sure that there's no bias, and just basically, sucking up to the guy and these crazy initiatives. So I don't think you can look at the Colbert decision in a vacuum when all these other things have happened. And I don't think you can take the Colbert decision as not being political when immediately after, Trump jumped on the train and started celebrating and taking credit for Colbert getting off the air. Remember that Skydance, the CEO of that, is a ally of Trump, the Ellison family, Larry Ellison and his son David. So I think to me the writing is on the wall, and if you don't see it as if you don't think politics and kowtowing to Trump had something to do with it, I'd like to smoke what you're smoking.
The devil's advocate version of it is Jon Stewart still there, and The Daily Show very critical of Trump. And I don't know if you saw South Park last night.
I didn't. I just saw some.
Oh, you'll enjoy it. Incredibly.
But that's the thing. When it's almost been though, like I in certain ways, I feel like this Colbert decision is going to backfire, because it's like now late night is unleashed, right? And it was really nice to see so many of his late night colleagues sitting there giving him support the Monday after the cancellation was announced. So Andy Cohen was there. Anderson Cooper was there. Jon Stewart was there.
John Oliver. Jimmy Fallon.
They were all there. And so I now think that it was almost, I read on a post, somebody said it's like almost like the Avengers.
Yeah, the Avengers of late night coming together.
In defense of Colbert. And I think they are going to come together in defense of comedy. I mean, think back of Dana Carvey making fun of George Herbert Walker Bush. My God, George W. Bush got portrayed as a bumbling idiot.
I was going to say, Herbert Walker got off pretty easy. It was just read my lips. But I feel like W took a couple hits.
W took hits. Biden took
certainly,
hits.
Yeah.
And they've all taken it.
Yeah.
They've all
Except
taken
Obama.
it.
Didn't really get hit too much.
Did he not? Probably not.
No, not too much. All right, let's move on to some fun here, because speaking of laughing, we had this topic in the live show today and it made me think of you. It was a story questioning if it's weird to invite yourself to plans that a friend's made without you.
I do it every day.
You would do this. You have no problem with this.
No. I do it constantly.
You invite yourself along.
Well, because, part of the time I'm in New York, part of the time I'm in Miami. So sometimes people don't know where I am. Some people, and so I'll call my best friend all the time and go, Lee, what are you doing tonight? Or what do you? And he'll say, oh, I'm going to dinner with Ken. And I said, he said, why don't you call Ken and ask him what he's doing tonight, and see if you. And sometimes I'll just show. Okay, well, tell him I'm coming. I'm going to show up on Saturday. I was home, and I called Lee and I said, Lee, what are you doing today? And he said, oh, I have a birthday party for my mother-in-law in my house. They're coming to cook Lebanese food. And I said, oh, you know what? I'm hungry. There's nothing to eat at my house. He's like, come over. So, yeah, I invite myself to stuff.
But he said, come over.
Constantly.
You didn't just say, I'm coming over.
Oh, but if I would, I mean, I don't even have to tell him I'm coming over.
Yeah.
I could just show up. There are many times when I have shown up.
We were doing examples
and they've had to add like an extra.
Like if you heard Joy was having a party and had a couple people there and didn't invite you, would you just say, I'm coming to Joy's, and you wouldn't have trouble with it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Oh,
okay.
no.
What about formal events?
There are times when I've told Whoopi, I want to drop over because I want to come see you, or I want to come and see Alex, her daughter, when she's here. I mean, I do that with Whoopi all the time. It's like, and Whoopi doesn't drink, so I'm like, bitch, make sure there's something for me to drink. But yeah, no, I do it all the time. I invite myself over to. I sometimes stop at people's houses, like if I'm, I have friends who live in some major streets in Miami. Or maybe if I'm driving by, I'm like, are you home? And I'll come in and I'll have coffee with them, chat for a bit. That's a very Latin thing to do.
Yeah.
To visit with people. Formal ones, no. If it requires an RSVP,
right.
If you had to give a head count to a caterer,
right.
I respect that like the Bible.
But will you bring it up if you know you weren't invited to something? Will you say really, I'm not invited?
If it's an RSVP thing that requires me putting on Spanx,
yes,
and
you're
black
happy not to
tie,
go.
please, I beg of you, do not invite me. But yeah, no, I have very close friends, and I invite myself to their events when I find out about them all the time. And half the time they haven't invited me because they think I'm not in town.
Yeah.
But it pisses me off if I have a formal event and somebody either RSVPs and doesn't show up after I've paid for their ass, for their plate, or shows up without RSVPing. Either or, I'm going to war over it. I find that to be very rude.
Well, speaking about big events that you've crashed, yesterday you crashed the surprise Bry Guy Day that was held in the studio. I wanted to get your impression of it. You seemed bewildered, but you seem to be enjoying yourself.
Okay, you know what I really enjoyed?
Yes.
Okay, so this Bry Guy celebration is all these people in the audience had these huge fat heads of yours. I didn't know the term for those things were fat heads.
Every time someone says it, I get offended slightly. But yes, it's not
what was
wrong.
really funny, though, is when you sent a video of it to your father.
Yes.
And his response was?
They got the size of your head right, maybe a little small still. Yes. Yeah.
But you see what I mean about self-deprecating humor?
Oh, I am the king of self-deprecating humor. Good Lord, yes.
Yeah, exactly. But so should Trump.
Yes,
agreed. So should Trump be. But let's
Trump,
see.
not a Bry Guy. Yeah.
The question I have is, when we come back for vacation, are we still going to be talking about this Epstein thing? And if we're talking about it, it's not because it's the Trump folks say it's because the media is talking about it. No, we are talking about it because the Wall Street Journal is releasing information. The Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch. We're talking about it because MAGA hasn't let go of it. MAGA influencers. And that's the thing, right? This thing is a boomerang because Trump helped create these major influencers that are part of the MAGA movement and helped him get elected, right? The Theo Vons, the Charlie Kirks, the whatever, you name them.
Yeah.
And now they're coming back to bite the hand that fed them, that helped create them. That's why I call it like the Frankenstein syndrome, because he created these monsters, these these really impactful social media influencers within the MAGA movement. And now they're coming, he did too good a job.
No, I will say it's incredible. I'm never not surprised by the news cycle, but I was talking to Sonny about this earlier in the week. The idea that in the beginning of this season, now that we're at the end of the season, that we would be talking about Jeffrey Epstein every day for going on 2-3 weeks now. Never in a million years.
And I will tell you, I was not happy about talking about Jeffrey Epstein at the beginning. I thought it was a non-story. As you know, I want to keep the focus on the things that are happening right now. The big ugly law, the stuff happening with immigration. But I was wrong on that. And your instinct was right. What you said, no, this really is a story and it has legs. And I'm now wondering what is in those files. And I've gone down the rabbit hole of, the friendship between Trump and Epstein and the falling out they had and why and the timing.
No, it's all very interesting. I mean, we have to say, and we've been saying it all week, that just being mentioned in the files does not mean someone's guilty.
And people aren't just taking whatever spaghetti he's throwing at the wall as an answer. The fights with Rosie, the fights with the Washington Redskins, the fights with, Obama. It's just so stupid and it's not working.
It's the greatest hits. All right, so that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Cha-Cha. You were wonderful. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for joining me today.
On vacation.
Well, everyone is. So as I mentioned, after today, Behind the Table will be on summer break until September. There is a new View tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that. And then we'll be on break. So follow The View on your favorite social platforms for updates. even if you love Behind the Table, I doubt you've heard every episode. So go back and re-listen to a couple of them. And we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Behind the Table is executive produced by Brian Tetta. Supervising producers are Summer Shake and Nathan Getty, with production assistant Emily Darcy and editor Brian Davis. Special thanks to Laurie Hogan, Molly Kaiser, and Katerina Alexopoulos. Producers for ABC Audio are Trevor Hastings, Camille Peterson, and Amira Williams, with supervising producer Susie Liu, executive producer of podcast programming Laura Mayer, and vice president Liz Alessi.